Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. Got another Master Duel video for you. Today I'm going to be showing you some Radiant Typhoon combo lines with the build that you see here. But I will show you lines that can apply to any Radiant Typhoon deck, even if your build isn't exactly like mine. As always, before we get started, I definitely want to give a huge shout out to our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. If you're a member here on YouTube, which you can become one by clicking the join button down next to subscribe below, then you were able to see this video early, as well as every upload on the channel, because they're made available to members before they go live to the public. Always at least a day, but sometimes even up to a week in advance, just depending on when I'm uploading the video versus when I'm scheduling it. So if you want to see some of these videos early, like this combo guide, definitely make sure you're checking out the membership options down below. But let's not waste any more time. Let's get right on into these combo lines for Radiant Typhoon. Okay, starting off with the one-card combo lines. If you open Radiant Typhoon Eldam and no other engine pieces in hand, you can begin by special summoning the Eldam with its effect. Then we can activate in order to add a Radiant Typhoon monster to our hand. We're going to add the level 6 Radiant Typhoon Krosea, which we are then actually going to tribute summon. Sounds a little bit weird, but is actually correct. We're going to tribute the Eldam in order to tribute summon, and now we can add Mystical Space Typhoon plus any other Radiant Typhoon card from our deck to our hand. We're going to grab the Radiant Typhoon Chant, and then of course the Mystical Space Typhoon. Alright, now that we have both of these, we can activate the Radiant Typhoon Chant, and this will allow us to add a level 4 lower Radiant Typhoon monster. That's going to be our Radiant Typhoon Swen. From here we can special summon the Swen with its own effect, as always, because on turn 1, your opponent will control any spell or trap cards. Now we can activate the Swen effect, and we're going to add a Radiant Typhoon spell to our hand. It's going to be the Radiant Typhoon Ascendance. Alright, at this point, let's go ahead and link summon the Link 2 Radiant Typhoon Varun, using our 2 Radiant Typhoon monsters on board. Now, on summon, the Varun gets to activate. We can add another Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand. We're going to activate Radiant Typhoon Ascendance. And we're actually going to add our 3rd Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand with this effect. Now, this is going to look weird, but it'll make sense in a second. We want to chain one of our Mystical Space Typhoons in hand and then destroy the Radiant Typhoon Ascendance. This will do a couple of things here in a moment. Now that's destroyed, and then Ascendance will add the 3rd MST to our hand. Okay, now we get the effects of both Varun, which we'll do as Chain Link 1, and then Ascendance as Chain Link 2. Because it was destroyed by the effect of Mystical Space Typhoon, now we can set it. So basically we get to not only add an MST with the Ascendance, but now we can revive if we need to during the opponent's turn. Now with our Varun Link 2 effect, we can place the continuous trap card, Radiant Typhoon Mandate, face up on the field. At this point, you can go ahead and set the 2 Mystical Space Typhoons that are in your hand, and now we have multiple negates set up through the Radiant Typhoon Mandate. Once per chain, when Mystical Space Typhoon is activated, you can target a face-up card your opponent controls and negate its effects. So your MSTs are both negates. Your Ascendants can not only revive, but also if your opponent doesn't have any spell or trap cards for you to destroy, you simply activate Ascendance, and then you can go chain Mystical Space Typhoon, and that will allow you to then use Mandate to negate one of your opponent's face-up cards. Next up, I'll show you the one-card combo line for Swen. As always, just ignore the other cards in our hand and pretend it's all off-engine except for the Swen. We can special summon Swen, and then we'll activate Swen's effect in order to add the Chant to our hand. Now we can activate Radiant Typhoon Chant, and that in turn will allow us to add the Eldam. Now from here we're going to special summon the Eldam, and we'll use the effect in order to add the Krosea to our hand. Now similar to the last combo line, we're going to tribute summon the Krosea. We can tribute off the Eldam. And then on summon we can add Mystical Space Typhoon plus another Radiant Typhoon card to our hand. We're going to grab the Ascendance and then our MST. And from here, the combo line is going to play out pretty much exactly the same as the Eldam line. We're going to link into Varun using our remaining Radiant Typhoon monsters. On summon, the Varun can activate, adding another Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand. Next, we're going to go Chainlink 1 Ascendance to add your third Mystical Space Typhoon from deck to hand, and Chainlink 2 Mystical Space Typhoon, destroying the Ascendance you just activated. Again, feels really counterintuitive, but is actually correct. Because now not only do we replace that MST that we just used, but now we can activate both Varun as Chainlink 1, as well as Ascendance as Chainlink 2. Ascendance, of course, will set itself back onto the field, like so, and then Varun will allow us to place the Mandate from our deck face up. Once again, set your 2 remaining Mystical Space Typhoons, and now they can act as negates during your opponent's turn thanks to the Mandate. On top of that, you of course also have the Varun and your Ascendance, and if your opponent doesn't have back row to pop, you can simply Ascendance and then chain MST to get the negate. Alright, next up, I'm going to show you the 1-card combo line for Radiant Typhoon Chant, but note that I'm starting us off in the draw phase. This is super important. If you are planning to activate Chant, or Visions, I believe is the one that draws 2 and then discards 1, you are definitely going to want to be using these cards in the draw phase because, of course, when you draw or search during the draw phase, this plays around the Droll and Lockbird, which is a very popular hand trap in this meta. So we're going to activate Radiant Typhoon Chant specifically during the draw phase, and then now we can add the Eldam from our deck to our hand. As always, this is showing off a 1-card combo line, so just ignore the other Eldam that's in my hand already. Alright, we can special summon the Eldam. We're going to activate, and now we can add the Krosea from our deck to our hand. We're going to tribute summon the Krosea by tributing off the Eldam, and then on summon we can add the Swen to our hand, as well as a copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. Now we can special summon Swen with its effect, activate in order to add the Radiant Typhoon Ascendance to our hand, and as always, we're going to pick back up on the rest of the 1-card combo line from this same point. We're going to link these 2 into Varun. On summon, the Varun will get to add another copy of Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand. Now I'm going to activate Ascendance Chainlink 1. We're going to specifically add Mystical Space Typhoon from deck to hand. Chainlink 2, I'll chain one of my Mystical Space Typhoons to destroy Ascendance. We'll let that resolve. Like I said, we're going to add the last Mystical Space Typhoon. And then now we can go Chainlink Varun, or Chainlink 1 Varun rather, Chainlink 2 Ascendance. So this way we can use the Ascendance effect to set itself, having the effect ready for our opponent's turn. And then Varun will of course be setting up the Mandate to let our MSTs that we're going to set act as negates. So yeah, whether you open Eldam, Swen, or Chant, all of those roads will lead to this same 1-card combo end board, assuming you open them with a bunch of hand traps or something, right? But again, with Chant, it's really important that you activate it during the draw phase to kind of help play around the Droll and Lockbird. You're going to be doing multiple searches, so you'll get hit with Droll if they have it at some point, but better to get at least a couple of searches off rather than only the one. Okay, so this is going to be like kind of a 1.5 card combo, but also kind of a 2-card combo, I guess. It's Krosea plus any Radiant Typhoon quick play spell. It can be any one of them, but it does have to be just a quick play spell you can activate during the draw phase, which of course can be all of the Radiant Typhoon cards. Now again, I have to stress how important it is in a situation like this to begin your plays during the draw phase to play around the Droll and Lockbird. So during our draw phase, I'm going to activate Radiant Typhoon Vision, and we're going to add Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand. Now, still during the draw phase, this will trigger the effect of our Krosea to special summon. And still during the draw phase, Krosea can now get a search for the Radiant Typhoon Chant, as well as another copy of Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand. Now you are, once again during the draw phase, going to want to activate the Radiant Typhoon Chant. And now you can add a copy of Radiant Typhoon Eldam from your deck to your hand. All those searches, 4 of them in fact, well, 3 searches for 4 total cards, all during the draw phase, all playing around Droll and Knockbird. Alright, now we're going to special summon the Eldam, and we can activate in order to add the Swen from our deck to our hand. Alright, let's special summon Swen, and then now we can activate Swen's effect, and we're going to grab the Radiant Typhoon Ascendance here. Alright, now I'm going to want to link summon the Varun using Krosea plus one of our other remaining monsters. We can activate Varun and add our 3rd Mystical Space Typhoon from deck to hand. Okay, now we're going to want to go Chainlink 1 Ascendance. We're going to revive the level 3 Radiant Typhoon monster that we linked away, and then we're going to chain one of our 3 Mystical Space Typhoons to the Ascendance. Alright, so now what'll happen here is Typhoon's going to pop Ascendance. Ascendance will activate. We're going to summon again our level 3, in this case Swen, but if you send Eldam, just summon that instead. Now we're going to go Chainlink 1 Varun, and that'll let us place the Continuous Trap card, and Chainlink 2 Ascendance in order to set itself. Alright, there's Ascendance. Now Varun can place the Mandate. And we've got 2 leftover level 3 bodies, so we can make a rank 3. We could either make the number 75 Bamboozling Gossip Shadow in order to negate a monster effect, but that'll also give your opponent a card draw, you as well, but I don't like giving my opponent draws, so I'm going to make another rank 3 called Totem Bird. You might already be familiar with this card, but Totem Bird is a rather unique rank 3 that actually will negate and destroy spell or trap cards on activation. Of course, we're going to set our other Mystical Space Typhoons. And there we go. We have pretty much the same 1-card combo setup, but now we have the added benefit of our Wind rank 3, in this case Totem Bird on our end board as well. Alright, now I'm going to show you some 2-card combos, which is actually where this deck really gets to shine. And you might be wondering why we're playing a full playset of Krosea if we're simply searching it in our 1-card combo lines. The reason we play 3 of this is because it is your deck's best extender. I'm going to show you a combo line with Eldam plus Krosea in order to highlight this. We're going to begin by special summoning the Eldam, and then we can activate in order to add the Swen to our hand from the deck here. Okay, now we can go special summon Swen. We're going to activate Swen, and we can add the Radiant Typhoon Chant from our deck to our hand. Now, there's a number of ways that you could actually proceed from here. However, I'm a pretty cautious player myself, and I really like playing around hand traps, especially in Nibiru. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make number 75 Bamboozling Gossip Shadow right at this point, while we're still within 5 summons. This will actually be summon number 3. Gossip Shadow has an effect that when your opponent's monster activates its effect, you can detach 2 materials from this card. The activated effect becomes both players draw 1 card. So that'll help insulate you against hand traps. Now what we're going to do is we're going to activate the Radiant Typhoon Chant, and we're going to add the Radiant Typhoon Meghala, which we haven't used in a combo line yet. We're going to add her from our deck to our hand. Now that we've activated a quick play spell, we can actually special summon Krosea from our hand. While we did tribute summon her in our 1-card combo lines, ideally you'll be special summoning her off of her effect. Now we can add the 2 cards from our deck to our hand. We're going to add the Radiant Typhoon Ascendance, as well as, of course, the Mystical Space Typhoon. Alright, now we can special summon the Meghala from our hand. We're going to activate Radiant Typhoon Ascendance to add our second, I know I opened one here, but this will be our second Mystical Space Typhoon to our hand. And then we're going to chain the Mystical Space Typhoon that we added to destroy the Ascendance, which of course will let us reset it to our field. Alright, there goes that. Ascendance will add Mystical Space Typhoon. Now we can go Meghala as Chainlink 1 in order to special summon from deck, and then Ascendance as Chainlink 2 and that will allow us to, of course, reset this card. We'll throw that right here. And now for the Meghala summon, we're actually going to grab the Radiant Typhoon, Varun, the Vibrant Vortex. Not the Link 2, but the main deck monster, with a very powerful negate effect. Alright, at this point, let's go ahead and make the Link 2 Varun. We can use Meghala and Krosea in order to do so. Now, at this point, if I didn't already have 3 Mystical Space Typhoons in my hand, I would just add the third one from deck to hand here. However, of course, we can still add from the graveyard to our hand as well. We'll go ahead and do that. Alright. Now, at this point, because I led with Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, I have to activate an MST in order to pop my face down Ascension. That way I can get the Varun effect, and then I'll also get the Ascension, or Ascendance effect, rather. Which is nice that it's not just a once per turn. It means we can reset it here, activate the Mandate, and then now we can set our 2 copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. However, I do want to note that you could do this in a slightly different order, and you could have made the Gossip Shadow later, but now that I'm thinking about it, I don't know if it actually would have ended you on more copies of Mystical Space Typhoon. Because I was about to say it would let you keep 3 here, but I think that would still only end you on the 2. In either case, here we have not only multiple negates through the Mandate and our multiple copies of Mystical Space Typhoon, as well as the Ascension, but we were also additionally able to end on the Bamboozling Gossip Shadow, as well as the main deck Varun, which has the ability to negate and potentially destroy monsters based on how many MSTs are in your graveyard. In this case, we already have one set up, so I think I'm actually glad we did it the way we did here, in order to not only play around Nibiru, but also we have a monster negate set up going into our opponent's turn. Alright, here is another 2-card combo line featuring a couple of our starters, Eldam and Swen. So, for this hand, I'm going to begin by special summoning the Swen from hand. We're going to activate, and then we can add the Chant right here. Now we're going to go for the Eldam, and then we're going to use Eldam's effect in order to add the Meghala from our deck to our hand. So pretty easy to see. I mean, we've got Meghala, we've got Chant, we've definitely got plays already. So if you wanted to, you could overlay these into the Gossip Shadow again, or you could save your level 3s for later and make a Totem Bird if you'd rather have a Spell Trap negate. Or, I'm going to show you what I'm going to be doing here. We're actually going to make Moon of the Closed Heaven. If you're going to pivot to Fiendsmith like I am here, it's important you do it early before something like Meghala or Krosea. Both of their effects will lock you into wind special summons for the rest of the turn. So, right now with these 2, we're going to link into Moon of the Closed Heaven. It's also worth noting that there is a rank 3 light fiend monster that's generic called Mellow Melody the Brass Djinn. So even if Moon gets banned, this line actually still works. We can link off our Moon into the Requiem. And now we're going to activate the Fiendsmith's Requiem. And we're going to summon Engraver from our deck, because with my build, I'm actually playing Engraver as my only main deck Fiendsmith card. Now we're going to activate the Requiem effect from our graveyard, equipping to the Engraver. And from here, I can special summon the Necroquip Princess, using the 2 cards on field as material. From here, let's go ahead and activate the Engraver Graveyard effect. We're going to put the Moon back into our extra deck and special summon. Now we can take our 2 level 6 monsters that are fiends, and we can turn them into the DDD Wave High King Caesar. So again, if you're not on the Fiendsmith engine and you want to play around Nibiru, you could just make this into the Gossip Shadow, or whether your 2 level 3s into the Gossip Shadow instead of this, like we did in the last combo line. But, hot take, I think having the 2 summon negates is better than having a monster quote-unquote negate that'll still draw your opponent a card. So, alright, now that we have the Caesar online, we're going to special summon the Meghala from our hand, and we can activate the Radiant Typhoon Chant. And I'm just going to add another copy of Eldam, because it has to add a level 4 or lower, right? Alright, now we're going to activate the Meg Hala effect, and we're actually going to special summon a Krosea from our deck. Now we can activate the Krosea effect, and we can add the Ascendance as well as a copy of Mystical Space Typhoon. Alright, next up we're going to link summon the Varun using our 2 Radiant Typhoon monsters. And of course, as always on summon, the Varun gets to activate. And now we can add a Mystical Space Typhoon from our deck to our hand. Okay, now we're going to go Chain Link 1 Ascendance. And we are going to actually use the Ascendance effect to special summon here. And as always, we're going to chain Mystical Space Typhoon. Oops, if I can target it, there we go. If I can just click, there we go. Okay, so MST destroys. Ascendance will revive the Meg Hala. Sorry, just checking my notes here to make sure that is correct. Yeah, we're going to special summon Meg Hala here. Okay, now we can go Varun effect as Chain Link 1, and we're going to go Ascendance effect as Chain Link 2. We're going to set here, we're going to place the Mandate face up. And now that we've done that, we're actually going to normal summon that Eldam. And now we can link summon Racefulgur, the Desperate Doom Eagle, by linking away Varun as 2 materials, plus the Eldam as well. And finally, we're going to set the remaining Mystical Space Typhoon that is in our hand. So this actually sets up quite a few things that might not be super obvious, right? But basically the idea here is that during our opponent's turn, we can actually use Ascendance in order to revive Krosea, as we typically do. But more importantly, we'll actually get to use Meg Hala's effect, as well as Krosea's effect. And that will let us not only turbo out the... Where are they? Yeah, we can add the Phonics and or Varun, and then simply summon the other. And then the one that we add can be special summoned when we activate our Mystical Space Typhoon to negate. So this combo line, although this inboard looks really weird, this setup will actually get you to the Phonics and the main deck Varun both for negates and disruption. That's of course on top of having your Mandate negate, your Caesar summon negates, and we also have Racefulgur, the Desperate Doom Eagle, which can act as a graveyard disruption for our opponent as well. Alright, now that I've shown you some of the combo lines here, let me show you the deck list yet again. One of the things I want to address about this list right up top, because I've already got a lot of comments about this on my initial video, but we're not playing Harpy's Featherstorm. Well, for one, as you can see, I don't own any, and I don't really want to craft it. But more than that, I actually don't really think that card is super great in Radiant Typhoon. Now, I don't think it's bad. If you already own a playset, you could certainly try it out. But this card does have a couple of things kind of going against it. For one, in a best of 1 format, it's not going to be nearly as good as it is in best of 3, right? Because this is specifically a going first card. It's a normal trap card that you have to set. You also have to draw it. It's not searchable as part of your combo line. Furthermore, on top of that, you have to control a Winged Beast monster, which while all of our Radiant Typhoon monsters are wind, only Krosea, which we don't typically end on, is actually a Winged Beast. Now, of course, you could have the Totem Bird, which is also a Winged Beast, and yeah, in that regard, being able to negate both a spell and trap card as well as all of your opponent's monster effects, that is pretty good. However, I don't think it's the most consistent thing in the world. In my research for Radiant Typhoon, I looked at a lot of OCG builds where Featherstorm is also legal at 3, and I really couldn't find many, or really any at all, that actually chose to play a full playset of it. And that's even considering some best of 3 tournament results, right? I think that you would be better off playing something like Forbidden Droplet, or if not Forbidden Droplet, another really good quick play spell option is Super Polymerization. I think that having quick play spells over a normal trap card like Featherstorm is really going to matter in a lot of games, because of course it matters for your Radiant Typhoon monsters to be able to summon themselves when a quick play spell is activated, as well as synergizing with Vision, which can discard quick play spells after drawing 2. Now for my build in particular, I'm on a minimal Fiendsmith engine, but this is also really optional. You could totally cut the Engraver from the main deck, which is our only Fiendsmith card in the main deck, as well as the Fiendsmith stuff in the extra deck to have a little more room if you wanted. In particular, if you wanted to play Super Poly, I think you should definitely cut the Fiendsmith stuff, but I wanted to try the Fiendsmith stuff because I think that Caesar is a really good card, and I don't think that Droplet is that much worse than Super Poly. Especially in this meta, Droplet can be a lot more flexible. Of course, it has the added condition of requiring you to send multiple cards rather than Super Poly's 1. But yeah, this is my day 1 build. I'm going to be using this list for our initial gameplay. So definitely be on the lookout for that. Should be coming out tomorrow. And then we will continue on with more Radiant Typhoon variants in the future. Because of course this deck synergizes very well with any deck that has quick play spells. So I might try out Radiant Typhoon with Sky Striker, with Runic, or just playing Vision, and again, any deck that has a critical mass of quick play spells. But that is going to go ahead and do it for now. Thank you as always for watching, especially all the way till the end of the video. Super appreciate that. But let's go ahead and move on to our outro so we can give an extra special thank you to our YouTube members and Patreon subscribers. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.